朋友，大家新年好，欢迎收看《大世界成功密码》特别节目，我是王志玉。今天要带您来看2位非常特别的企业家。首先要为您介绍的是怪得很特别。 疯得很有特色，全世界最叛逆的企业家理查·布兰森。他拥有的维珍集团旗下有唱片公司、有航空公司、有铁路公司，是英国最大的民营企业。他甚至受封为英国爵士。而这位白手起家，如今身价高达数十亿美元的超级富豪，被称为怪诞大亨，绝对有其道理。他曾经说：“活着就是要疯狂。”他曾经裸奔来宣传，也曾经男扮女装，穿上了自家空姐制服。这位行事作风每令人啧啧称奇的企业家，他疯狂的企业哲学，带您快来大开眼界。
黑丝袜挺着性感美腿，这空姐竟然是个大叔。
Where's the music? DJ, where's the music?
他可是英国维京集团的创办人理查·布兰森，全球最知名的亿万富翁。63岁的他公开刮掉脚毛，涂上口红，到座舱里端咖啡，就是因为布兰森和这位正抱着他的亚洲航空公司创始人托尼·费尔南德斯打赌输了，就到亚航当一日空姐。
We've had a fun day, and looking forward to getting back into my own clothes.
搞怪爱玩，布兰森自己就是维京集团的活招牌。从拉斯维加斯酒店顶楼跳下来
This is what's safe.
Virgin Mobile 旗下手机品牌闯印度市场，广告 live 秀也要自己搭一脚。维京航空航点插旗杜拜，他就全身英国国旗装亮相，也曾穿上婚纱为维京新娘站台。为了推销维京可乐，甚至不惜全裸。而裸女贴着他冲浪的这张照片，更大大博得媒体版面。
So I've got to be nice to him. Give him a big kiss.
I've had to, I've been running the largest group of private companies in Europe, but haven't been able to know the difference between net and gross. And so, is that good news or bad news? And generally people would say, oh, well, that's bad news. But
对数字天生迟钝，却有个超棒的生意头脑，懂得创造话题，经营事业最高原则就是要好玩。
Long before Richard Branson created airlines and spaceships, he envisioned Virgin Mobile.
1950年出生在英国中产家庭，小时候布兰森有阅读障碍，15岁就辍学，以4英镑从发行杂志起家。后来开了维京唱片行，店里整天放音乐，顾客可以随性的躺着、坐着、吸大麻，讨论音乐和性。这在当时是很大胆的概念，吸引大量乐迷，更奠定维京集团企业文化的核心。维京就是要让人开心，它代表一个新的生活方式。从娱乐业跨足门槛很高的航空业，理由也是好玩。维京集团和英国航空竞争激烈，也靠冒险精神开疆辟土。
Over something like that is beautiful. That's quite safe. No, I mean, first of all, I think just hot air ballooning is just a wonderful escape.
布兰森1998年第2次用热气球环游世界时，不小心飞进中国领空，接到警告，紧急找英国首相求助，才平安离开中国海岸。但过不久，他收到电报，维京航空成为唯一一个能从英格兰直飞上海的航空公司。前1分钟还在担心热气球可能被击落，下一刻布兰森就可以开着波音747直飞中国了。成败一线之间，布兰森的最新计划要用飞机带人冲上太空。
We want to make sure that we give people a return ticket and not a one-way ticket.
要价20万美元的太空之旅大热卖，已经有450位世界的富翁预约。疯狂大胆，让布兰森开创出规模破100亿、横跨34国的维京集团，更成为身价达46亿美元的富比士富豪，颠覆 CEO 形象，企业顽童布兰森玩出整片江山。
理查·布兰森的经营理念就是要好玩 ，for fun。好玩这2个字是企业的中心思想。他一手打造的维珍航空，要让乘客搭飞机也很好玩。比如说，飞机上一定有的安全指示，教乘客怎么系安全带，怎么用氧气面罩。理查·布兰森会让空姐空少直接在飞机上走到跳舞来示范，而他们不跳舞的时候，飞机上播放的安全影片也跟一般的航空公司非常不一样。他找了流行音乐家量身打造特别的主题曲，就要带您一块来欣赏这段别家航空公司绝对看不到的机上安全影片。
Some safety tips that you gotta know, and trust me, it's something that you wanna hear.
So honey, sip your lips and enjoy the show before we move into the stratosphere. Yeah.
So won't you buckle your seatbelt, pull it down tight, and keep your in that chair until we turn off that light. Turn your electrical devices off as fast as you can. Don't make me ask you again. So tonight, get ready to fly, 'cause we're gonna live it on up in the sky. Virgin America knows all the places you wanna be. Fly away with me, fly away with me, yeah.
For the 0.001% of you who have never operated a seatbelt before, really? I mean, it works like this. Insert the metal end into the buckle until it clicks, and pull on the loose end to tighten, making sure it fits slow and tight across your lap. There you go. To open, lift on the top of the buckle. And remember, seatbelts should be fastened whenever you're seated, just in case of unexpected turbulence or weather conditions. Personal electronic devices should be turned off and properly stowed during taxi, takeoff, and landing. Laptops should be placed inside carry-ons or under the seat, not in seat back pockets or loose on the cushion next to you. Nice try.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now enjoy your flight, and as always, thank you for flying Virgin America.
So tonight, we're gonna fly. We're gonna live it on up in the sky. Virgin America knows all the places you wanna be. Fly away with me, fly away with me tonight. Get ready to fly, 'cause we're gonna live it on up in the sky. Virgin America knows all the places you wanna be. Fly away with me, fly away with me, yeah.
理查·布兰森把玩乐当成他经营事业的最高原则，边工作也要边玩乐。他是个充满冒险精神的商人，他投资了几百项的事业，因为追求好玩，所以多半亏钱。不过他说，只要其中有1、2样可以赚大钱就好了。他搞怪爱玩的特质，很会博取新闻版面，他自己就是维珍集团的活招牌。而最近几年，他最疯狂的计划就是太空之旅，要价新台币600万元，他还卖得很好。这个有着全世界最疯狂、最颠覆 CEO 形象的布兰森，美国的华顿商学院选他为过去25年来最具影响力的25名商业领袖之一。他以4英镑起家，开创出规模破100亿、横跨34个国家的维珍集团。紧接着就要带您来看看他自己怎么谈他的企业经营理念。
You've always been ahead of your time. You were ahead of your time in the sense you were losing money in the publishing business. It was student. So that led you to the music business. Explain that transition a little bit to people.
Well, first of all, I've never thought of myself as a business person. And I think actually people who think of themselves as business people most likely are not going to be that successful. Throughout my life, what I've tried to do is create things for a reason. So, Student Magazine I started in order to have a voice, in order to make a difference. Music, I mean, a friend of mine had a tape, absolutely loved his music, but people refused to put it out. He was 15 years old, he played all the instruments himself. So, so I went to the record companies, nobody would put it out, so I decided, well, screw it, let's set up our own record company and put it out. And it actually happened to be very successful. And And then since then, we started signing other bands that we liked, and we built maybe the most successful independent record label of its time. And particularly excited when we finally signed the Rolling Stones, which was something that
but that wasn't easy, was it, to land them? You tried to land them several times.
I tried to sign them several times, but anyway, don't give up. And I think, just throughout my life, the businesses that we've set up have all come from, maybe frustration. I mean, we went into the airline business because, I hated the experience of flying on other people's airlines. I felt, I did fly a lot on other people's airlines, and I felt I could create the kind of airline that I'd like to fly on. Great entertainment, great staff, people, cabin crew that actually smiled, et cetera, and if I liked it, then other people would like it, and that's every move that Virgin's made has often come out of a personal frustration that surely that could be done better than it's been done.
It's a good thing your first choice for a name for the company did not take, because I think you might not have 455 people waiting to fly on Slipped Disc Galactic. Slipped Disc was cute, but Virgin was brilliant, right, as a brand. How did that happen?
Well, I was 15 years old. And I was sitting around in the basement.
This is really a tell-all, isn't it?
Yeah, there were a number of other young girls, let's call them 16.
Everything was legal.
And one of them jokingly said, "Well, we're all virgins. Why don't?" And laughed. And so why don't we call the company Virgin? And so it was either, we sort of tossed a coin. It was either going to be Slip Disc Records or Slip Disc Airlines. And as you rightfully say, Slip Disc Airlines, I think, or Slip Disc for spaceship companies or whatever, just wouldn't have worked.
Wouldn't have worked so well.
No.
Tell me a little bit about one of the crucial turning points for you in the music business was Mike Oldfield and Tubular Bells, which is a classic album from the 70s. If you're of the age, you know it. This might be too young a crowd, I don't know. But how important was that, and how difficult was it to build a record label? Because you referred to the Rolling Stones and how difficult it was to land that act. It seems to me it's kind of like putting together a sports team. It's hard to get the stars.
Yeah, well, you do need some lucky breaks in life if you're, building businesses from scratch. And our lucky break was signing Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, which he was 15, I was 16, as I said, nobody else would put his music out. We put it out, and people absolutely loved it. And I think a lot of people got stoned on it. So. It and Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd were the two massive sellers at the time. And I think, fortunately, we took risks. We signed the Sex Pistols at a time when nobody else would touch them. We got prosecuted for the name of the album sleeve, Never Mind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols. Which the police decided the word bollocks was rude. And it's quite a funny story, actually. I mean, obviously, the police thought the word bollocks was...
But you actually consulted a linguist to find out what bollocks means, right?
Well, the lawyer that we got said that he would defend us for free because he thought it was ridiculous that they were prosecuting us. And a famous QC... And he said, look, find a linguistics expert. So I rang Nottingham University, which was the town we were being prosecuted in, and the professor of linguistics answered the phone, and I said, could you tell me what the word bollocks means? And they said, well, the police obviously think it's a derivative of balls, but they're wrong. It's the word bollocks is a nickname that was given to priests in the 18th century. And they talked because they talked a load of rubbish. So basically, the album means never mind the priests, here's the Sex Pistols, or never mind the rubbish, here's the Sex Pistols. So So I said, well, would you mind coming to court? And he said he'd be happy to do so. And then the punchline came. He said, I happen to be a priest myself. Would you like me to wear my dog collar? So somehow we got off.
Couldn't make that one up. That was, that case dismissed at that point. The gavel comes down. Okay, a lot of us here have had bad experiences on airlines, but we don't go out and lease a 747 for a year, which is what you did. I found it interesting that you got some counsel from Sir Freddie Laker, who pioneered low-cost seats across the Atlantic. And I'm curious, first of all, you didn't do exactly what he did, because obviously it didn't work out in the end for him. But I'm also curious who you admire, who you consult. Do you find yourself looking for advice frequently as you engage in new business ventures?
I think the best leaders are the best listeners. I think people who get out and people who get out and listen. The best. We've got a wonderful organization of elders that we work with, and they're fantastic listeners. So I'm listening all the time. I'm taking notes all the time. I'm listening in particular from the people who work with me, because they know what's going on. They know the feedback from the customers. If I fly on a Virgin airline, I make sure I don't sit. I'm up and walking about, meeting all the customers, meeting all the staff, taking notes, making sure that the next day I deal with those notes. If I'm down route in San Francisco, where I will be tonight, I'll make sure that I go to the same bar that the staff drink at, and by the end of the evening, if I haven't taken those notes, I won't remember the next morning what they told me. But it's very, very important to be a good listener.
You're a delegator, a listener, and you also have an incredible sense of paying attention to the details of the business. When I say all those three things, it sounds like that's three different people. How do you mix all of that together into a management style?
I don't think it need be contradictory. I mean, from a very early age, I realized that the importance of delegation. So the moment you've got more than one company, you have to learn, you have to delegate, and it's very important that you find people to run your companies who are wonderful motivators of people, who look for the best in people, who praise and don't criticize, and who just genuinely care about people, and that's the kind of people that run the various Virgin companies. It's very important that I don't try to second guess those people. I mean, you've got to give them the freedom to make mistakes as well as to make good things, and hopefully I'm good at that. At the same time, if I'm when I'm traveling the world, I do go out and visit all the various Virgin companies, and I do make lists of sometimes quite minute little things, and I think it's getting all those little things right that make for an exceptional airline or an exceptional health club or an exceptional train company, or it's the moment management start getting lazy and they let those little things starting slip, that you just become a chain of hotels or a big chain of restaurants. You've got to run your companies as if you are in a very personal way, and make sure that all those little details are sorted. And by sorting all those little details, and then you're giving your staff the tools to do the job well. Your staff can then be proud of the job they're doing. They can be proud of the brand they're working for. They can go out in the pubs in the evenings, and everybody, all their friends, are proud of them because they work for that particular company that really excels. And the whole thing is a self-fulfilling and works well.
But I guess that's the nature of the business. Some of them, I guess, will get away there. So,
I mean, I think the interesting thing is that we're not adverse to trying things, and we try a lot of things, and we're not adverse to the falling flat on our face, and so my own feeling is that we just love giving things a go. Some things succeed, and if they don't succeed, we learn from it. There was a time where we took on Coca-Cola, and we thought, we'll knock Coca-Cola into #2 position in the world, and one day nobody will have heard of Coca-Cola. And we arrived in Times Square in an English Sherman tank, and we had rigged up the Coca-Cola sign the night before with pyrotechnics to explode, or look like it had exploded at the same time that we fired the tank. And the tank fired, the Coca-Cola sign went up. By the way, this was before 9/11, when people weren't quite so sensitive about people firing tanks in Times Square.
Another thing that would not happen today.
I think it might not have happened today. But anyway, so for about a year, Virgin Cola was out selling Coca-Cola in the UK. We were having great fun, and our troops were rolling out. And then somebody at Coca-Cola woke up to this little brand, and they just decided to squash us. And they got massive SWAT teams were sent out around the world, and anywhere that Virgin was stocked, suddenly the retailer got a lot of money for destocking us, and they jumped on us. We're still #1 in Bangladesh, but
in certain neighborhoods. So, this is a theme that comes up time and again, given the nature of what you do as a small, upstart, cheeky, attention-seeking brand. And in the case of the airline, British Airways, in the case of the train lines, it's been the government rail system in the UK. It's predictable, but it really can be difficult to overcome, this David and Goliath challenge. Goliath wins a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, with Coca-Cola, they won. British Airways tried similar. I mean, British Airways waged a really dirty tricks campaign to try to put us out of business. And they had put out of business by waging similar wars. Dan Air Europe, British Caledonian, Sir Freddie Laker, numerous airlines before us. Freddie Laker, when I sat down with him and said, look, you've been driven out of business by BA, I'm starting off with one second-hand 747, do I have any chance of survival? And it was he that just said, look, use yourself to get yourself on the front pages of the papers, to get that brand, your Virgin brand. You're never going to be able to advertise them. Use yourself, make a fool of yourself, do everything you can to get the Virgin brand out there. And then there's 3 other words I would recommend to you. Sue the bastards.
Because he was reluctant to do so, and that hurt him, right?
He sued after the event, and he got $10 million. So he retired on the $10 million and lived a happy last few years of his life, but would much rather have been running his airlines. So when British Airways started the Dirty Tricks campaign against us, and it involved them going through my rubbish bins outside my houses to try to find any incriminating evidence against me, going through the rubbish bins of our nightclubs to see if they could find any needles to prove that people might be taking drugs in our nightclubs. I mean, they went to extraordinary lengths. They had a computer set up where they were illegally accessing our computer information. They were then ringing up our passengers, pretending to be from Virgin, and saying that our plane had been cancelled, but as a good Virgin employee, we could switch you on to British Airways. Anyway, extraordinary things. And we took them to court, and we won the biggest damages ever. And from that moment, we didn't look back. I mean, British Airways were on the back foot, and Virgin, grew into a formidable competitor to them.
You've built so many companies, so many different identities around the Virgin brand. You told us how you came up with the name. When you hear the word Virgin, what do you want us to think? What do you want us to think about that brand? And then how do you go about protecting it?
Well, how you go about protecting it is a really good question. I mean, we like to think that the Virgin brand is synonymous with, with quality, with good value, with fun, with innovation, and we won't go into a new business unless we feel it's going to have all those attributes and it's going to actually enhance all the Virgin brands that have come before it. How do you protect it? We try to make sure that we run our company ethically, that we don't make any moves where if we're going to wake up and if we make a move that that we'll be embarrassed about if we read about it in a newspaper, we just won't do it. So we imbue that in all the managing directors around the world. There will be mistakes, and I think the brand is big enough to cope with the occasional mistakes, as long as we move incredibly quickly and we admit there's a mistake. I mean, we're in the transportation business. I mean, thank God, in 28 years we've never had an airline accident. We had a train crash, which was actually no fault of our own, but some of the track which we didn't control was loose. I was on a skiing holiday. Made absolutely certain that I found a plane that got me to the accident. Within 2.5 hours of the accident, to meet the passengers, to go to the hospital, to confront it head on, and so how you manage a difficult situation like that. I even had to. There was one person killed in the accident. I had to go to the morgue to comfort the relatives, and so I think people appreciated the fact that I'd taken that trouble. So so confronting head on a problem like that is very important, I think.
今天另外一位特别的企业家要为您介绍的是巴菲特跟比尔盖茨的偶像，全球免税商店集团 DFS 的创办人查克费尼。今年已经高龄86岁的查克费尼，在他人生的青壮年，他就成立了大西洋慈善基金会，把自己所有的钱都捐出去了。直到后来他的公司被收购，外界才赫然发现他的股份早就在慈善基金会的名下，这是历史上最庞大的一笔善款。查克费尼他累积了数百亿美元资产，但是他简朴度日，只为了捐钱帮助需要的人。他曾经说，一双脚只需要穿一双鞋，裹尸布上没有口袋，天堂也用不到钱。
提起跨国免税集团 DFS， 总是令人与高级时尚精品做联想，更成为免税品天堂的代名词。
Ours began more than 50 years ago with the vision of Robert Miller and Charles Feeney.
然而鲜为人知的是 ，DFS 创办人之一查克费尼却是行事低调的大慈善家。
It's gotten everybody to think, why can't we all do more? He really has inspired a whole generation of philanthropists.
It's just a wonderful chance to talk about my hero. Chuck has set an example not only for all the people of my age and younger generations around now.
受查克费尼启发的比尔盖茨和巴菲特更在2010年发起了赠与誓言 The Giving Pledge， 已经有170名富豪加入，承诺将1半以上的资产投入公益，其中更包括润泰集团总裁尹衍良和脸书创办人佐克伯夫妇。不过查克费尼却可说是富豪裸捐的最佳典范。
American billionaire is helping transform Queensland's medical research, and in doing so, he's saving lives.
And he's 81 years old. Few people on earth have given away more.
The reclusive philanthropist donated $27.5 million to the improved facility.
就连大合照时都不愿意看镜头，从小地方就看得出查克费尼行事低调的个性。出身蓝领阶级家庭的他，毕业于康奈尔大学，也是全家第一个上大学的，更在军旅岁月中找到商机。
I looked at the market and said, well, geez, if if it's good for the military, it must be good for the tourists. So we started doing the same thing.
1960年，查克费尼和朋友创立了 DFS。1964年就在全球27个国家开分店。到了1988年，他的身价已经超过40亿台币。当时他的家庭不但衣食无缺，更常开泳池趴，饮酒作乐。
I enjoyed particularly the people that I worked with, and I was always thinking that I don't need another $1 million.
不过他没有沉迷于纸醉金迷的生活，更要求在富裕环境中长大的子女学习独立、自力更生。
People have to fight and strive. So he made sure we did.
而1980年，他成立了大西洋慈善基金会，毅然挹注全部的身家，将560亿美元投入教育、科学和医疗等领域。
I'd always empathize with people who have it tough in life, and the world is full of people who don't get enough to eat.
然而初期，查克费尼坚持匿名行善，更不愿意接受冠名等纪念形式。直到1997年 ，DFS 被法国精品巨头 LV 的母公司 LVMH 集团收购，才披露他的股权已经全数捐出。如今，他的慈善事业更即将完成阶段性任务。
The Atlantic Philanthropies will distribute all of its funds and close its doors by 2020, becoming the largest foundation in history to complete its grant making in the lifetime of its founder.
查克费尼曾经戏称天堂里用不到钱，他不穿名牌服饰，住的是出租公寓，简朴度日，只因为相信世界贫苦的人太多，捐助救人不能等。三星五驻民众报道。
查克费尼有多简朴呢？目前他跟妻子住在美国旧金山租来的1房1厅的小屋子里，他从来没有穿过名牌服饰，手上戴的表是地摊上买来的塑胶手表。他没有车，需要外出，他搭公车、搭地铁。最爱吃的东西是烤乳酪三明治，这是他最满足的美食。上酒馆去消费，他一定会核对账单。睡觉的时候一定关灯，不要浪费电。甚至有一次在会见爱尔兰首相的时候，他依旧戴着那副从杂货店买来破掉的老花眼镜，上头还夹了一个别针固定。查克费尼被称为是慈善界的007詹姆斯庞德。过去30年，他各地奔走，希望趁自己还活着的时候，把所有的财产都捐出去。
I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do with their money. If you make your money, you do what you want with it. But I'm just convinced that the satisfaction one can achieve from helping people is a level of satisfaction that you can't get otherwise.
The whole giving while living philosophy of Chuck is intensely personal. Make a difference now? What are we waiting for?
Chuck set a wonderful example. He stayed true to this total dedication to give everything away.
His idea is that there will always be more money tomorrow. More millionaires, more billionaires, and more problems. And you can deal with those problems tomorrow. Let's solve today's problems today.
Dear Chuck, I'm writing to simply say thank you. I can't express how much your story moved me, and your actions inspired me to shape my own life.
For some 35 years, Chuck Feeney's entire fortune, which grew to over $8 billion, has been used to transform lives and institutions all over the world. He created the Atlantic Philanthropies to give it all away within his lifetime.
You give it away today, you can see what it's going to do. Well, giving while dead, you don't feel anything.
When I first brought Chuck Feeney here, there was nothing. Now we have buildings everywhere. Chuck and Atlantic Philanthropies played a major role in making that happen.
That glass effect will be coming off on the side here.
Building from the ground up, in every sense of the word, has been a hallmark of Chuck Feeney's philanthropy.
Chuck is teaching us to think big. He keeps telling us to try and think about how we can do something which is on a large scale and do something which is dramatic.
The real reasons for major deaths in the country are cardiovascular and cancer. And the time is now, I'm convinced the time is now to make progress in these areas. We can find solutions, and we will find solutions.
That can-do spirit and caring nature are in Chuck's DNA. He was born during the Depression in 1931 to a working-class Irish-American family in New Jersey. Money was scarce, and he joined the Air Force straight out of high school.
He went to Cornell on the GI Bill, which he could not otherwise have afforded. His family would not have been able to send him.
Cornell was Chuck's gateway to success. A born entrepreneur, he capitalized on that education and his overseas experience to spot a surefire business venture, selling booze to sailors stationed with the Atlantic Fleet.
If it's good for the military, it must be good for the tourists. So we started doing the same thing for the tourists. They said, well, if you can sell liquor, why can't you sell perfume? And so we sort of expanded our range of products.
A business empire was born. DFS, duty-free shoppers.
By the late 70s, they were the largest duty-free retailer in the world. The volume by that time was $3 billion a year or so. By the 80s, they had houses in the south of France, Hawaii, New York, just outside of Paris, Lakeville, Connecticut. I may be missing one.
I grew up having a grand old time. We were the house where people came and had barbecues and had parties, and people always came with their kids. It was always kids and adults parties.
They were living the American dream. But by the age of 50, Chuck grew weary with all that wealth.
It was by 1980 that I started thinking about, well, fine, where's all this leading? What am I going to do with it? I'm a guy who's said that I could be happy with a grilled cheese and tomato sandwich.
Chuck is uncomfortable with displays of wealth and lavishness, and I think that grew over time.
I got a phone call one day from him, and he said, I have a big announcement. I've given everything away. And I said, you mean every penny? And he said, I'm giving it all away to a foundation.
In 1984, around Thanksgiving, we met and had a closing in which all of the assets were transferred. It left the family with an agreed amount, and everything else was transferred to the charity. I said, this is irrevocable. You have to understand that if you do this, it doesn't come back. It's gone forever, and if you don't like it, it's gone anyway. Are you sure you want to do this? And he actually was impatient with that because he'd made up his mind, thought it was fine. He said, yeah, let's get on with it.
Atlantic Philanthropy's first big bet took place in Ireland.
Ireland was a place that was in some distress at that time, and he saw an opportunity to be helpful.
It really is almost a sixth sense. The environment is ripe, the people are ready, the culture is at a particular stage.
The University of Limerick was where he started the experiment of giving in a very substantial way.
In the 1980s, Irish universities were in dire straits, along with the national economy. Atlantic's grants turned Limerick's tiny campus into a dynamo.
The thing he liked about the university program was that there were buildings, there was bricks and mortar. You could kick them, you could touch them, you could feel them. They were there, and he'd helped to put them there.
Helping universities is helping the economy, is helping yourself, is helping your neighbors. That's bang for your buck.
And ever the pioneer, Chuck figured out how to leverage that Limerick investment.
He made the decision to do on an all-Ireland scale what he had done on a small scale here in Limerick. And this triggered the government, or helped trigger the government, to mount a major commitment.
Within the span of a few years, higher education in Ireland was transformed. Chuck was hooked on giving while living. In late 1996, after DFS was sold, the foundation was flooded with cash. Now, Chuck could make more big bets.
It's about that time that he says, let's do it all in a limited period of time around my life, because I want to become involved and I have some ideas. Vietnam had been really ravaged by decades of war. They had gotten a bad deal.
When Chuck first set foot in Vietnam, he felt that the Vietnamese people deserved better. The first thing that Chuck was shown were the hospitals. When he saw how bad the conditions were, his immediate sense of responsibility was, let's do something about it.
You can see sick people in front of you, and you think, geez, someone's got to come up with a solution for that.
Over the course of a decade, Atlantic invested hundreds of millions of dollars to help bring Vietnamese health care into the 21st century.
He chose Vietnam because with modest amount of money, you can have huge amount of impact affecting lives of many people. As a businessman, that was excite Chuck. There are many people who live in the rural area who would never be able to get to the hospital. And so you have to address the primary healthcare system.
In the provinces, so-called commune health centers were the only game in town. That's where healthcare happened. Chuck wanted to see for himself.
You see overcrowding, you see crumbling buildings, you see lack of equipment, you see people sleeping on the ground. But we see the seed of potential is already there. The doctors, the staff, very dedicated.
With funds from Atlantic, over 900 commune health centers in 8 provinces were built or upgraded, serving 9 million people. And their staff received top-notch training.
Once the first commune health center was built, the next one and the next one, the successes came rapidly. And before long, the whole province was covered, and then other provinces started taking notice, and it just snowballed.
There is a sustained outcome that will live well beyond Atlantic and continue to influence and be part of how Vietnam delivers its health services.
And knowing that it will continue to be built on in the future, that's an added bonus. It will live on.
Chuck really set a model. It's just such an inspiring story. And when Microsoft was super successful, the idea of how would that wealth go back to society was something I started thinking about.
Like Chuck, Bill Gates is using his entrepreneurial background to fuel his philanthropy.
And the idea, could we take great science and innovation and somehow uplift those lives and give everybody the things that we were lucky enough to have?
Just as South Africa was forging democracy from the pain of apartheid, Atlantic came on the scene there.
Here we were asking for an investment in a dream of taking the past of pain, degradation, humiliation, and transforming it into positivity.
In 1994, the majority of South Africans were illiterate. Our challenge has been to get as many South Africans to understand the significance of modern knowledge. This is why universities are so important.
In South Africa, Atlantic once again saw higher education as an engine of change, a way to unleash human capital. And government again had to match those grants to multiply the impact.
You should see the university on a day when it's filled with its students, more than 1,000 at a time, or these young black South Africans doing science and doing it proudly. There was the expectation that this would never happen in South Africa. We surprised the world.
Beyond academia, Atlantic also pioneered critical support for the gay community and for activists taking on the scourge of HIV/AIDS. And all of that activism led to landmark progress against the devastating toll of the disease.
Whereas in 2004, not one single person in South Africa was receiving treatment through the public health sector. Today, 2 million people are receiving treatment and are alive as a result of receiving that treatment. We've effected a revolution of sorts, and that revolution would not have been possible without the steadfast support of Atlantic.
I had the opportunity to be presented a book. It was the life story of Chuck Feeney, and it's this incredible journey of a amazing man.
I just said, wow, I mean, what a fascinating journey. I mean, you know, how much has one man really made his life count?
Investment banker Amit Chandra soared to financial success before the age of 40.
Success came early, but somehow there was always still a sense of emptiness.
The power of Chuck Feeney's story launched Amit and his wife onto a bold new trajectory.
We decided to structure our entire wealth in such a way that we divided it up and we said we'll keep what's enough for our family and everything else from there on will go towards philanthropy.
There's a part of this journey which is deeply selfish. My satisfaction is far higher than I would have ever had if I wouldn't have gone on that path.
Chuck Feeney gets more zest and fulfillment giving away the last of his billions than he ever did making them. That's his passion and his prescription.
What can you do before you leave this planet to leave it a better place with better prospects for those who come? There's nothing more satisfying. That's the message to all of us, and that's particularly the message to those who have wealth.
To me, personally, I think it seems to be a complete no-brainer.
As you sit in the world and you look around you, you say, well, why would you reduce the amount of good you can do if there's a lot of good that's required?
查克费尼被称为衣衫褴褛的大慈善家，如今他已经通过他创办的慈善基金会，将高达62亿美元的善款捐到了世界各国。这样的壮举让他成为了世界上在有生之年里捐款最多的人。他一个人的捐赠金额就超过了一些大型的家族基金会。 他坚持在还活着的时候捐款，因为他想知道他捐的钱有没有用在该用的地方，有没有帮到真正该帮的人。他说他要亲眼看到他的善款发生效用，不想死后才捐，根本不知道钱花到哪里去了。
You start off with a game plan. There's logic in making things happen now, especially if now there are things out there that are necessary. And I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do with their money. If you make your money, you do what you want with it. But I think there is an obligation, certainly, for the haves to reach out and to look at, see what they can do. I think we don't realize the problems that are going to be facing. The need to support our kids in schools. We teach kids how to ride bikes, and some of them had never ridden a bike before. And of course, the joy of some child who finds out that he can ride a bike, was like winning the lottery. Any money that people give to any good cause, as long as it's well managed, is worthwhile. Success is success, if you achieve what you think you wanted to achieve, you operated successfully. We tried to do that.
A shy American billionaire is helping transform Queensland's medical research, and in doing so, he's saving lives.
And he's 81 years old. Few people on earth have given away more.
The reclusive philanthropist donated $27.5 million to the improved facility.
Queensland has benefited greatly from the American's generosity, which has seen him give away $6 billion around the world.
Well, Chuck Feeney, who you mentioned, is one of the great philanthropists of the age.
He is quite likely the world's most generous and modest donor. Chuck is the man who had it all and gave it all away.
The most important thing for him now is to spread the gospel of giving while living and to influence more people who have money to give it away and to give it away wisely.
Here was someone external to ourselves, having faith in us. And the psychological impact was tremendous.
Giving while dead, you don't feel anything, but give it away today, you can see what it's going to do, and then you can modify your mistakes. It is clearly more than money. It's satisfaction that you're achieving something that is helpful to people. And I think you do get satisfaction out of something that happens on your watch. In the world we live in today, there is such a need to reach out and help people. The world is full of a lot of people who have less than they need, and each time you can address their problem, you help them to move forward and to feel that, all right, the life can change, and I can change it.
今天为您介绍这两位非常特别的超级富豪，希望你喜欢。以上是今天的节目内容，谢谢您的收看，我们下次见。